to despise, to put down, to insult, to rape, to murder. It's what allows wars and rumors of wars. The othering is what allowed the genocide of Native Americans, the enslavement of Africans, the trafficking of young men and women. It's what allowed the Holocaust to happen. It's what allowed the murder of George Floyd. Yes, othering may be our biggest sin of all. When we refuse to see in every single person, say that with me, every single person. When we refuse to see in every single person the reflection of the face of God, Mother Teresa said this, I see Jesus in every human being. I say to myself, this is hungry Jesus. I must feed him. This is sick Jesus. This one has leprosy or gangrene. I must wash him and tend to him. I serve because I love Jesus. All of us are image bearers of God. And here I mean all in the way that I said it a minute ago, in the every single person meaning of the word, not in its collective meaning. In this Black Lives Matter era, it is unfortunate that all lives matter has become a popular counter mantra. The all lives matter phrase waters down the meaning of the Black Lives Matter statement, waters down the impact of Black Lives Matter, and minimizes, literally, the very significance of black lives by lumping them into the collective all pile. In this collective sense, all does not really mean all, because it lessens the every single person sense. And those who choke on the words Black Lives Matter do so because they feel threatened, because they feel othered. By the way, every time we other, we degrade the very image of God in ourselves. God's image, as we talked about, is communal, which means that our image is communal as well, which means that you cannot fully reflect the image of God by yourself. We truly bear God's image only when we are in community. This individualized Christianity that has become so popular in the world is not authentic Christianity. You see, the very first thing that Jesus did was to collect people into community. Come, follow me. Matthew, come follow me. John and James, come follow me. Simon Peter, come on, follow me. Bring your brother Andrew with you. Come, let's form a community. A community, by the way, that included both a tax collector on one side and a zealot on the other side, which those two cannot coexist in Jesus' world unless brought together by someone who emulated God's love. completely. Every single one of us, every single person bears God's image. Anytime we lessen others by othering them, we lessen God's image in ourselves as well. Rachel Held Evans said it this way: like it or not, you can't be a Christian on your own. Following Jesus is a group activity. And admittedly, from the beginning, it's been a messy one. It's been an incarnated one. You, every single one of you, bears the image of God. Every single other also bears the image of God. Collectively, we reflect the fullness of God. Amen. I would like to invite your comments, thoughts, your questions. How has this series spoken to you? As we've talked about what God is like, we've talked about what it means for us to bear the image of God, and when we've talked about others bearing God's image as well. How has this enhanced and helped your thinking? How has it challenged your thinking? How has this been helpful to you? Please unmute yourself and speak. If you're here, wave a hand. We'll get a microphone to you so that everyone everywhere can hear you as you speak.
Well, Bob,
Yeah.
I just for years grew up in the fundamentalist Southern Baptist Church, and you'd think at 43 years old I would have figured out what you've been preaching by now. It really makes a difference to hear somebody like you articulate it in the way that you have in this series, and to place the sacredness of us and the others within the concept of the Creator. They coexist, not in opposition, but in survival, in love, in relationship, they coexist. And I'm just so appreciative of the way you preach and the message that you bring.
Thank you, G. Are there others? How has this spoken to you? How has it challenged your thinking? And what other thoughts do you bring to this? Perhaps something I haven't said. You've got your own thoughts. One of the things I like about having an interactive service like this is that sometimes you hear things and see things and observe things that I do not, that I miss.
Bob, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Carol. I can't imagine how God feels because we don't accept the love He has given us. It breaks my heart, and I know it breaks His.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it is.
That He's probably just like us, trying to figure out why we make it so hard. why it's not so easy for us just to say, you know, he's a human, I'm a human. We're supposed to love each other. Why it's so hard for us to do that, and him not understanding or she not understanding why that is. What's the separation between the two? What separates us from that? The color of our skin, our race, or whatever. It's just how hard that is, how unhard that is.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be that complicated, does it? Right. Well, we seem to get it when the people that we love are in our own image, like our children and grandchildren. We seem to get it when they're in our image. But we can't make that jump to every one of us, no matter who we are, no matter what we look like, no matter what our sexuality is, no matter how we think, no matter what our politics are. Any and all of the ways that we divide ourselves, even sure.
It's just like the same thing, like the neighbor. Like you've got your neighbor children. I love my children, but you can't love the neighbor's children like you love your children. Right. You know, I mean, it's like, what's the difference in those children? There's no difference. Love them the same.
We are all children of God, right? Yeah, thank you. Anyone else?
You know, Bob, I want to add to that. That was a great point. Why is it's so simple, but why can't we do it? And I think, for me, we collectively have become used to a transactional kind of love. If I love you, and you love me, and then if you quit loving me, then I stop loving you. Or if you're different than me, then I stop loving you. And so many of us grew up on that type of understanding of God's love. If we did not follow a certain set of rules, that love would be taken away.
Yeah, exactly.
And we apply that to others and mark them off the list. And, you know, in Greek, as you obviously know, there's 4 different words for love. But the type of love God gives is agape, which is altruistic. It's not built on a business transaction. God's going to love us no matter our response. And we have to have the ability to love others in that way. Doesn't mean you let them walk over you. Doesn't mean you let them abuse you. But it means you love the essence of God in them. And sometimes we have to do that from a distance. But we have to get out of this mindset that love is transactional. That we can simply take it away from somebody else if they don't perform the way we want them to.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that observation. Anyone else? Other observations, thoughts, comments, questions? Well, thank you so much for your interaction with us today. I always appreciate it when you help with the preaching. I think that's important for us to do as a community. Hopefully you'll be back here next week and the next as we continue to unpack what the image of God means. I'm going to tackle the gender question. Male and female, God created them. And that is as a reflection of God's image. So we'll talk about that.
On Facebook, Sydney said, trying to get her mind around all the different people, murders, psych people, all the failures and deficiencies.
I think God is reflected in all of us regardless. And yes, I get it. We collectively are a mess. And if that's the case, then I guess God is a mess. God is all encompassing. All right. Thank you all for worshiping with us. God bless you. Just remember, you are created in God's image. Every single part of you, every molecule is God's image. Amen.